Hello everyone! Today we're going to take a look at the New York Times Handheld. Yes, this is a handheld that was put out by a newspaper. I don't think that's ever happened before or since. This might be the only one, but I'm sure somebody's going to correct me in the comments. Anyway, this handheld, it plays one type of game called Set. And I have never played Set. We're probably going to have to learn it together. If the instruction manual is anything to go by, it must be a pretty complicated game. Apparently it's one of those like smart people games. It's a puzzler. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this. Let's learn Set and let's play this game. See if it's any good.
This handheld was made by Franklin, and I expect that someone in the comments is going to tell me, dude, your title is clickbait. This is just some random Chinese handheld you found with the New York Times logo slapped on it. Kind of like a pen that has a hotel name printed on it. That doesn't mean the pen was specifically designed for that hotel. But no, this handheld is specifically for the New York Times. It even has the model number NYT100 set. Weirdly enough, this is not the first video game made by the New York Times. At one time, they even partnered with Coleco to make a Sudoku plug-and-play, thus proving once again that Coleco is the village bicycle of the video game licensing world. I mean, why would you even need to attach the Coleco name to this? It doesn't make any sense. Oh well, back to the handheld. It runs on 3 AAAs, and even with those, this thing weighs nothing. The plastic is like the same type you get in a Happy Meal toy. The dimensions are all weird though because it's so thick, it's like an inch. It's a chunky boy. Here's a banana for scale. But it's very well put together. I don't have any worries about dropping this thing. It doesn't have a screen bezel, the LCD is just completely exposed. But it's so sunken in that I'm not too concerned with it getting damaged. But I can see this thing being a dust trap. I was surprised it even has a lit up LCD screen. I was expecting it to be more like a calculator. And I know there's probably someone out there right now, maybe it's you, and you're eyeballing this thing thinking about how to run Doom on it. That would be cool, but you probably shouldn't. The controls are horrible. Yes, it has a D-pad, but I'm leaving that in quotes because it's the bare minimum of what you need for a game like Set. It's 4 separate buttons, no diagonals, and it's not going to be comfortable for anything more complicated than this. The rest of the controls are all over the place. You have an on-off slider here, I can't even remember the last time I saw something like that. A pause button, a menu button, a hint button, view and select, and a hard reset button on the back. Now let's learn how to play this thing. The game Set was designed in 1974 by Marcia Falco, a geneticist who evolved the game from a coding system she came up with at work. The game was published in 1991 as a card game, and that same year it won the American Mensa Select Award. Set is a difficult game. It's about matching cards that have symbols with different colors, shapes, shading, and amount of symbols. And every time I look up the rules, I got a really complicated explanation. Even on this handheld, you can read the instructions in the menu, and it's very long and confusing. I'm going to teach you Set in one page, it's easy to understand. To make a set, you are looking for 3 cards with only one difference, or only one thing in common, or nothing in common. So let's look at some possibilities. This is a set, this is a set, and this is a set because they have only one different trait between the 3 cards. This is also a set because they only have one similarity, their color. But this would not be a set because the differences are not continuous among the cards. This, on the other hand, would make a set. All 3 cards share their differences and similarities. But I'm showing you a really simple example with all solid shadings just to demonstrate. Now when you bring in shading, that's probably the biggest thing that drives me crazy in this game. And that's when you can make sets that have no similar traits at all. Those are really hard to find. Now, when Set appeared in the New York Times, it was a daily puzzle and players needed to find a certain number of sets in a puzzle. This mode is best recreated on the handheld under the puzzle option, so let's try a simple one real quick. It says there are 4 sets in this puzzle. Pause this video right now and see if you can find all 4 sets, or even just 1 or 2. Alright, you ready? Okay, here we have a set because the only difference is their shape. Everything else is the same. And here we have a set because the only difference is the number of symbols. And now here you see we have a similarity in shading, everything else is different. And for this last one, the only similarity is the number of symbols on the card. I hope you got some of them right, but don't worry if you didn't. It's a very challenging game, it gets your brain spinning, and it's easy to get frustrated. I hate it when there's only one remaining set and it's not popping up for me, it drives me nuts. Then I have to calm down, look at each card one by one, trying to see if they make a set. I'm pretty slow at it right now. On some of the harder puzzles I've been able to get my time down to like 2 minutes, but I've only been playing off and on for about 2 weeks, so for a moron like me I think I'm doing pretty well. But like a lot of puzzle games, it feels really hazy at the beginning when you don't have a good strategy, but then there's this magical moment when it starts to click. You find a shortcut and it makes your life easier. Kind of like when you play Tetris and you discover that you should always leave the last row empty for those long blocks. In set, that moment came for me when I realized that all cards in a set will have the same number of symbols, or a mix of a 1, a 2, or a 3. There is no such thing as a set that goes 2, 2, 3. That will never happen. You could also modify this hint to say the same thing about any of the other traits like color, but the number of symbols on a card is the thing that stands out to me the most. So now when I begin a game, I look at all the cards that have 3s, 2s, 1s, and see if there's anything there. As long as I got those out of the way, then I know the remaining sets will all have cards going 1, 2, 3. No exception. That little trick made things 1,000 times easier for me. There are 4 different ways to play the game on this handheld, and they're all really neat. We already looked at puzzle mode. The other modes are classic, where you go up against the computer trying to find more sets and get more points to win. There are 4 difficulties in the menu, and if you're not ready for the one you picked, it will beat the crap out of you. And when you're playing against the AI and racing to choose sets, it really shows off how bad the D-pad is. I know there are instances where I missed out on points because it wasn't cooperating with me. Again, I must advise the community, do not port Doom onto this. Please focus your efforts on the Airfryer port. The next mode is timed, where you go through a whole deck of set cards finding all the sets in the fastest time. Kinda like a set version of Solitaire. And lastly, arcade mode. In this mode, there's a timer counting down, and finding sets gives you more time. I think this one is the most fun. Also in the menu, you can select whether you want 9 or 12 cards on the screen, and that does make it more difficult. There's also a sound option, and I had it turned on the whole time, but I never heard so much as a chirp from this thing. I think I could see a speaker under there, maybe mine's broken, or maybe it never worked to begin with. This thing is better being quiet anyway, so I consider that to be a feature. Now from what I could find, these first came out in 2008 and retailed for about $40. And that's all you need to know about why this thing never took off. The iPhone had released just a year prior. This game is begging for a touchscreen, and in our app-littered world, it is not worth $40. I played the official app version and it's pretty good. It's much smoother than playing with a D-pad. The full version is $2 and they renamed the arcade mode to sprint mode, but weirdly, I don't see that they included time mode where you get the full deck. So yes, this handheld was horribly obsolete the moment it came out. But you know what? There's an undeniable beauty to it. This handheld is a relic from the before time, and the long ago, back when some electronics didn't need a Wi-Fi connection. A handheld where you could just flip a switch and play it. If you like to shop at Muji, then this is the handheld for you. There's something neat about a handheld that essentially runs only one game. Nintendo kind of experimented with that recently, so there is still some utility in that idea. It's a great offline time sync that you could take on a plane or camping and be sure it'll work with no hassle. I'm going to keep enjoying mine. The game is challenging and it has a ton of replay value. So if you're ever on a long flight or sitting in a waiting room and you see someone playing a New York Times handheld, come by and say hello. It might just be a YouTuber you know. Actually, wait, no. Don't do that. They made 1 million of these. That person is probably not me and your scary ass is gonna get maced. So don't do it. And that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.